Hi guys and welcome back to RedStone Productions. Today we look into the Stam Audio and Warm Audio 1176 style compressor limiters. The SA76 is a faithful replica of the revision AB, better known as the Blue Stripe 1176, while the WA76 is replicating the revision D, better known as the Blackface 1176. In order to have a better understanding of the two different circuits, it's going to be important to have a look at the brief history of the different revisions. In 1967, Bill Putnam Senior invented the 1176, starting off as an evolution from his tube-based compressor 176. It was the first compressor to use FET, so field effect transistors, as variable resistors to control the dynamic range of your program material. Now, the first unit, thereby revision A, was also utilizing FETs in the preamp and line-amp stages. Cosmetically, it was sporting a blue stripe that you can still recognize till nowadays. Few months later, the revision AB got released with better specs in terms of signal-to-noise ratio. And that's what Stam Audio is replicating for us today. Then we have the last Blueface 1176, which is basically the revision B, where for the first time on the preamp and line-amp stages, the FETs got swapped for bipolar transistors. In 1970, the revision C was released. This was a huge step forward from the previous revisions, first of all because cosmetically it was sporting a black anodized faceplate, thereby the Blackface 1176. On top of it, they tried for the first time to employ a low noise circuit, actually better developed for the revision D. Of course, we know that the Warm Audio 76 is replicating the revision D, which again, compared to the previous revisions, was cleaner, more transparent, with less overtones, and basically a much more transparent compressor. Revision E, F, G, H are all revisions going more towards the transparency of the compressor and less overtones and harmonic distortion. The revision H even took out the transformer and replaced it with the op-amps. So now that we understood the differences in the circuits, depending on the different revisions, we can start having a look at the WA76 and the SA76. What makes the 1176 a super useful compressor to have in the studio is the fact that it has a super quick attack and release time that you can get into. Talking about attack going up to microseconds. So you can really tame down those transients in a really fast, aggressive way. One of the unique features of the 1176, among other compressors, is the fact that it has a fixed threshold. You need to go over the threshold by increasing your input. It supports 4 different ratios: 4:1, 8:1, 12:1, and 20:1. Plus a very unique feature that you only find in 1176, what's called the all buttons in mode. Whenever you press all of the 4 ratio buttons, it goes into all buttons in mode, where it changes a lot of parameters within the circuit. The first things that happens is that basically the ratio goes somewhere in between 12:1 and 20:1. The next thing that happens, due to the change of the bias within the circuit, you get an incredibly high amount of distortion coming out of the unit. This is something that you can use on mixdown, for instance, to get super aggressive tones out of your room mics, lead vocal, backing vocal. It's something that is very unique, almost creating a pumping effect that you wouldn't find in any other compressor. What I really like about both of these units is that the potentiometers are somehow stepped. That makes your life so much easier when it comes down to recall your settings. We said that the attack and release time are variable and they can get extremely fast. If we look at the attack and release settings that Warm Audio laid out for us, they're respecting the actual functions that you find on the original unit. What I mean with this is that you get faster attack and release times by going clockwise, while on the Stam Audio unit, it's actually the opposite. If you want to get faster attack and release times on the SA76, you actually need to go counterclockwise. One of the first things you realize as soon as you open up both of those units is that they have a different power supply. Warm Audio 76 is using an external transformer to power up the unit, making its chassis also relatively smaller compared to the SA76. In the Stam Audio 1176 style compressor, you'll find a built-in toroidal power supply shielded within the unit itself. When it comes down to compare the sound between the two different units, since we said before there are 2 different revisions, by default they will have some slightly different changes in terms of tone. Personally prefer to use the Blackface, for instance, on kicks, but I would gladly go for the Blue Stripe when it comes down to snare. So you see there's a lot of options that you can do by utilizing both units. So just like the original has 4 different buttons to let you select what you want to see on the meter, the gain reduction or the output levels. In terms of price, the 2 units are pretty much within the same range. The WA76 itself selling for $599 while the Stam Audio 76 is selling for $690. The Universal Audio reissue of the Revision D nowadays available for $1,999. Alright, enough talking, let's have a listen at the units and compare with our own ears. I'm gonna run different program material, the usual suspects for this sort of compressor: kick, snare, lead vocal, bass, guitar, and we're gonna also compare it later on with an original 1176 reissue Revision D. And now let's compare it with the Universal Audio 1176 Revision D.
Sometimes you feel like a motherless child. Sometimes you feel like a motherless child. Sometimes you feel like a motherless child. Sometimes you feel like a motherless child.
So now that we had our time listening at the units, you can make your own mind which one you like the best. What I really appreciate out of these two brands is they're bringing top-notch analog compressor EQs at the fraction of a cost to anybody's studios. Are you in love with 1176 classic sound and want to know more about the available options on the market today? Then check out next video showing 1176 alternatives ranging from 500 to 2000 euros. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. Please don't forget to subscribe. And if you have any doubt or you want to talk about whatever it is that we've been talking about in the reviews, please just go down in the comments. I'll be happy to reply to each one of you. Stay tuned.